Okay, let's talk about GameStop and Roaring Kitty, because I made two videos in the last 2 weeks, and that had the most. They had like the most views lately on a stock video, and of course, why not? Because everybody now, here, kitty, 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 kitty. They have, this guy makes all the money, and that's where you got to be careful. Don't get caught up in the fame of anybody. Anybody. I years ago used to buy, oh, so and so bought into a stock to only see it the next 2 weeks go down. Or buyout rumors. Don't get caught up in that. I've already seen 50% of the time, even more probably, it's not even true. And you sit and it gets hyped up. Somebody sells it, you get in, and now you're looking at the stock. If you recall, GameStop, look at the chart here. And I'm using the Webull desktop app, and if you guys are interested in signing up for Webull, just click the link down below. It doesn't cost you nothing. They even give you free stock. But people ask me, what charts are you using? I got two charts pulled up on my screens here. I'm using the Webull, and I'm using the stock charts, which I'll come back to. But I comment basically that Roaring Kitty is going to be forced to sell certain stock if he hasn't already put money to the side for stock gains. He definitely has made money cashing in the options, but does that mean that everybody should be jumping on board? No, because we don't know what he got in or what he got out. And at the end of the day, and I always think about this, it's like somebody wins the lotto for $100 million, and if they lose $30 million of it through bad timing or poor choices, they still have $70 million. They're still doing okay. If you remember, just back here we are back in May. May 14th, basically 5 weeks from now. That stock had peaked up at 64.83, but you can go back in April, and that stock was $10. Are we going back to $10? Now the stock today had basically, it was up 5.41%, so it was up $1.28, but the low today was $22.55. And the high was $24.97. So it had a 9-10% swing on the stock. The volume is dropping. So, are we getting as much selling? No, but we're still grinding down. And if we look here, let me pull up stock charts over here because I have some stuff preloaded in. So right now, the 50-day moving average is 21.25. 20-day moving average is 25.74. And we're still finished under the 20-day moving average today. It'll be really important to see what happens this week with the weekly support, because the 200-day moving average is 16.31. So really the next support is at 21.25, this blue. But wow. All the way back down here. Let's look at a weekly chart. The weekly chart, 1942. But, I mean, it has been clearly down for the last 3 or 4 weeks. I had commented, basically, I don't like the business. I know years ago when I looked at it, it was 50s. I would love to short the stock, but when you short a stock, this is the crazy stuff that can happen. And I remember now this is 64.83. How far can we go back when I remember? If we go back, yeah. So if we go back basically 2022, that stock, I remember in the beginning in 2021 it was 50, and I said to myself, really, to me, it's the next Blockbuster. It's not gonna survive. I don't care how much money they have or sold, or they are actually, and I commented about this, and someone said, oh, they're not gonna cost a, and they announced news, I was reading last week, that they are gonna close underperforming stores. This is where some of the cash is gonna get used. You can't just click the door and just say, I'm walking away. They have lease obligations, but what happens usually typically with these lease obligations, and past experience I know, I used to be a Subway franchisee, and I've seen stores close and move and locate, and a lot of times you have to buy. Everybody's lease is structured different, but I know a lot of times, like in the subway case, it was 1 or 2 years that you'd have to, if you wanted to move, or you were on the hook. Um, a lot of times, they can do, of course, if they do bankruptcy, they could close, but there goes the stock. Um, and because of the cash position that they're in, they would have a tough time really filing for bankruptcy right now. But a lot of times they can close these places with basically like a 2-year buyout. They go to the landlord, and for example, if it's $5,000 a year, $60,000, $120,000 for 2 years, they'll say to the landlord, hey, we're breaking our lease. We have a clause in there. We can give you $120,000 and close the location. The hope is that the landlord can actually find someone quicker, meaning like in a year, and get somebody in there, and they keep the difference. But as you know, and there's a place here. I live in Pennsylvania, not far from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and we were just up at a location. Actually, we go to the Longhorn, Texas, not Texas Roadhouse, Longhorn Steakhouse, and there are something like 17 shops in that outside mall that are closed. So not every landlord wants to sign off on that because it is hard to get tenants anymore. And one thing I've noticed, I mean, if you're going in there now, they're selling Funko Pops. They're selling, $8, $12 Funko Pops. They're not even selling enough games anymore, and they're getting into other things that really it sort of comes across more as a pawn shop. But they are going to close locations. That's going to cost them money. How many locations? Let me actually pull up a different screen, because now I'm curious myself on how many locations they have. I just predict within the next 3 to 5 years, GameStop will totally be different. And I say that, in my opinion, of course, because people are playing games online. So you don't need the real estate. You don't need the help. You don't need the employees. When you can basically create something that 10,000 people could play any given time, and it's just totally different, and the margins are better because you're not less help, not the real estate. When you have real estate, you got the electric, you got the insurance, you got there's a lot involved with just renting. So when GameStop closes a place, for example, they like I gave the example of 5,000, and that's realistically, a lot of places are $5,000 a month, even more if you're in the mall. With the mall locations are very expensive. So and I detail all this stuff out because I don't want to see people get into GameStop. Does it mean that the stock could go to 30 in the next month or so if some news comes out, or Kitty Cat, a Roaring Kitty comes out? I got to keep his name straight. If Roaring Kitty comes out and says something good about it and the stock spikes 50, of course, that could happen. Don't forget, I think he's in at $21, but he cashed in options and made a lot of money there. So that brings, and then he got back in. So that really brings it doesn't really matter. The 52-week high and low is 64.83 and 9.95. And it's got a market cap of 8.8 billion. It's actually down 37 cents after hours. No big deal. But when they close these stores, it frees them up from having to pay the electric, having to pay the water, having to pay insurance. It's very expensive. When you think you have a $5,000 a month store to run, then you got to pay the employees, you got to pay the help. There's a lot in running a store. You got to sell a lot of games and buy a lot of game use systems. I was at a store the other day, and it was right next to my T-Mobile, and I explained on one of my videos how I signed up for that $20 because they give you free money every month, and I'm like, okay, it's $20 for the year actually, and they give you $5 a month towards credit, so that's $60 a year. But I did notice already I get like spammed on the email, so that's a little bit of a pain in the ass as far as that. But it's a lot of money. Whoa. Oh, Investor's Place. Now I'm going to show you this. I just pulled this up. So they got 17,000 employees. Investor's Place is saying GameStop analysis, the case for exiting GameStop before it's too late. Um, so GameStop could launch another meme stuff. Yeah, exactly. Let me see a little bit what it says here. Yeah, exactly. This person agrees with me, and I didn't even read this. This is fresh from you guys. Um, they don't have a turnaround. That the stock is crap. Um, yeah, it says he does. He agrees. He says no reason to buy, and I believe that too. I don't think 150, 200 million. The firm's revenue dropped sharply. I'm just reading some of the notes real quick. If you're still watching in here, guys, like and subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Whoa, because the company's sales sank a huge up to 800, while the cash burn has climbed to 110 more. Cash restricted is at one down from 1 point. So their cash is fine, but it's just that it's a terrible business, and I'm going to talk about. Yeah, so Roaring Kitty is playing with fire. GameStop, yeah. Let's look at some statistics here. Profit margin is 0.5%. Quarterly revenue growth down 30%. The shares short is 30%. So there's still a lot of shares short, and you can't bank on that. This is not accurate. 1 billion because they said they sold. So, but maybe that money, honestly, the stock was selling the stock that they did is definitely going to dilute. I don't care how much more cash. It's going to be a pressure on, at $2 billion, at $2 billion roughly, and don't quote me on that number. You sit there and calculate if the value of the stock is, so that's a 20% dilution. If the stock, the stock market cap is at 10%, it's already losing money. It doesn't even have a PE. I mean, look at this. It's just I would not touch it. I would not even touch it to trade. I don't. Why? There's so many other opportunities out there. I don't see this company. GameStop can exist, but in a totally different, more online or more places where they can just kill. They if they're doing good revenue. I mean, realistically, at an overhead, that I talk about $5,000 rent, and we're talking insurance and other those things. You're talking roughly. They probably have, the average store has a $15,000 overhead cost minimum per month. If you got your employee wages, honestly, that's around 5,000, 15, and we're not talking about buying inventory. So we're talking like just the help, the rent, the insurance, the overhead, the fixed cost, and I know the variable cost of labor is always different, but 15,000. I mean, when has there really been like, okay, a big, these things you can get at Walmart, you can get at Amazon, you can get at Target. It's nothing special. So it's just the way it is, and I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. And Roaring Kitty cannot save GameStop. People that buy games and stuff like that don't know who Roaring Kitty is. It's just the community in the market that think it's, oh wow, it's great. And again, and I talk about this, he could come out any stock he wants. He could destroy this stock tomorrow, and now what's not to stop him from buying puts and say that if he came out tomorrow and said he bought all, is that illegal? And I talk about that on a video. If he came out tomorrow and bought July 20 puts and said that he sold half his position, just half his position, I guarantee the stock would hit 20, and those puts would jump up 150 to 200%. Can anybody else do that? I don't know. And this is why I got to keep talking about it, because I want to warn people, be careful out there. I'm not in it. I've never been in it. I don't plan to be in it. I'm just following it. If you follow me, I showcase stocks, and I'm doing a value line stock of the week. And but stay away from this. I want to say dog of a stock, but I get cat or kitty cat or lion. It's terrible. Stay away.